Question of the day: what is your favorite roll and write that feels like more than a roll and write? We're finally at this point where we don't have to talk about roll and writes as if they're this small subset. There's a lot of roll and writes out there and a lot of things that set different ones apart. Fleet the Dice game is one of my favorite. Some of the ones that are flipping rights like Trails of Tucana are wonderful gems. There's so many great roll and writes. You've got the David Tursi Foundation, the Rome one. What was that one called? Roman roll, which is just big time, right? But what's your favorite roll and write and why? Is it the simplicity or is it the scaled down nature with also the elements there that you want? Because today we're talking about a game from Alley Cat Games called Paper Dungeons. This is a roll and write dungeon crawl. Yes, you heard that here first. Not here first, but you heard it here. Dungeon crawl, roll and write. Let's take a look at Paper Dungeons from Alley Cat Games, see what it does, if it's fun, what you should do with it. Come back up to our final thoughts. So here's Paper Dungeons set up. Now you have 6 dice, 3 white ones, 3 black ones, different symbols on them. You have your 3 monsters set up based on the dungeon. Now there are multiple dungeons to pick from, so we picked Dungeon G. You could play these in a sort of campaign, but it tells you where to put the monsters and which monsters you're going to need. So we need a gargoyle, a chimera, and a lich. You then put them out on E3, A4, or C7 of the board out here. You'll see those on this out here. I'm going to zoom in and take a look at the actual map. So E3, for instance, would be E3. The first monster would go here. The other monsters would go wherever they're placed. I believe the Lich will be here, and then the Chimera will be over here somewhere. This is your map. So there is a spatial element to this game, but it is a roll and write. So we're going to take a look at all the things you can do with your dice. First, though, you're going to get 2 power cards and 2 objective cards, and you're going to discard one of them, to where we ended up with this. Now, this card does 2 things. It gives you some in-game point goals. This one gives you either an instant benefit or something else. This also tells you your hero's affinity. So you have 4 different heroes that you're working with out here on the board. These correspond to typical fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons sort of thing characters. You've got your warrior, wizard, cleric, and rogue right here. Now notice the boxes next to them are white. You're then going to fill in which ones are black here. So our rogue and our cleric are black, which means in order to advance them, you're going to need to choose a black dice from the pool. A couple other things to note on this. Your level is based on, or your health is based on your level. So we are all currently at level 1, hence that 4 cubes here. We're all at a level 1 for each of these, so level 1 is already filled in for you. You then notice that your health is based on that, so we have 4 health. If at any point you need to take damage, you're going to have to fill in a heart. Now potions, you'll see as you get those, will give you more hearts to fill in. So instead of taking damage on this track, you can kind of soak some damage with potions here. If your damage ever exceeds your level, you need to be resurrected, which means you're going to lose 9 points at the end of the game, but you cannot, it's not player elimination, but it's kind of an abstract way of showing that. Over here, crafting, these are things you're going to craft in the dungeon here. So one of the options, and I'll show you how to pick these dice, but mostly importantly, I want you to see what you're doing first of all. Your crafting section, each of these requires 2 different spaces to be filled in. So to do the almanac, you're going to need to have both of these filled in. This can use a white or black dice. When you do, at the end of the game, you're going to get 3 points, and you instantly upgrade a level, move up a level for one of your characters. These all do different things here, including extra damage to monsters, killing 2 minions, being able to cross walls or water, and certain things like that. The other thing the dungeon's going to do that I haven't drawn out here, I'll show you with the finished one, is it's going to add some extra walls. See the black lines? Those are not printed on the board, but you're going to go in and draw them yourself. So you would add walls here. So it kind of changes up the dungeon from the pre-printed one every single time. That's crafting. Up here, these will require a certain symbol on the die. So that one would be required for the scepter here. Here, again, with your levels, you can level up these characters to where they get stronger and stronger. And the reason that's important is for twofold. Minions, well, threefold really. Minions, monsters, and at the end of the game, your lowest leveled hero is how many points you're going to score. So it's going to kind of influence you to want to raise these all together. When a hero hits level 4, you're going to gain the power associated with it next to it. So when your warrior is +4, or level 4, you're going to gain a +1 against monsters. This means you don't choose black or white dice. It doesn't matter which color. This one means you don't take damage from skulls. We'll talk about that in a second. And this one's you instantly gain a gem. Gems are the only thing on the board that really have to do with player interaction. So a gem on the board, if I were to take gem D, I tell the other players, hey, I took gem D, everyone has to cross that out and they can't get it. Kind of like the goals and stuff in Trails of Tucana. Again, potions, these are, if you take a dice and you can pick any color dice, you'll scratch in 2 different potions of 1, 2. And then when you do that, you now have access to these hearts. As you finish a row of potions, you're gonna get the bonus too. So moving up a level of a character, crafting a free craft, and then a gem would be the last one here. So gems are worth a lot of points as you continue to collect them. Every second gem gives you a power as well, or an upgrade. Here are the minions. The minions are these little things on the board here. So for instance, this glom slime thing here, you have to have your rogue at a level of 3 to beat it without taking any damage. Now you can beat it at a level 1, but you're gonna take the difference in damage. So if we go in there with a level 1 rogue, we're going to take 2 damage onto our characters, which means we could potentially get knocked out if we're not careful, because the other way you take damage, when these dice are rolled, any skulls that are showing take damage, unless you have the power of the cleric, which stops that. Gems are marked here. Down here, these are your in-game points. This is kind of where you keep track of everything. And then lastly, movement. Movement is one of the most important things, because you can take any dice and move 2 spaces. If you choose this dice, you move 3 spaces. When you enter a room, you can fight the minion, claim the treasure. Those can only be done once, but the traps must activate. So you start picking one of these places to move from. When you move, you're going to draw 1, 2, 3 spaces out. Every time you enter a room, you take advantage of what's in the room. The other thing is you must be, or at least pass through, where the monsters are to fight the monsters. Every 3rd round is when you fight the monsters. In order to fight the monsters, you're going to need a strength total at least one of these categories. Now this is monster 1, 2, 3, so you'll notice they get harder. The way this works is it takes your level into account. So currently we're only at a 4. However, it doubles one type of your heroes. So the wizard against the gargoyle counts its power twice. So if we're at level 4 with the wizard, we then have level 8, or we have 8 power against this, plus the other 3 classes. If you are above 9 or above, you're going to take 2 victory points, you'll mark that at the bottom, and take 3 damage from the fight. If you're at 13 or more, you're going to get 4 victory points and only take 2 damage. If you're at 17 or more, you're going to take 6 victory points and only 1 damage. And if you've defeated the monster, you can get the power here, the freebie. This is crafting, is what these 2 are, and the last one's victory points. If you're unable to fight the monster, you can run away by taking the damage shown here. Once you've defeated all 3 monsters, you're going to total up your points and see who has the most. Now, this is kind of a completed one. This is just an example of certain things. Completed here, all sorts of drawings on the board, all sorts of crafting. We got all the way up to level 20 here. I did keep them all together on this sheet. At level 5, we got a whole bunch of points, ended up with 80 points at the bottom there. So, last thing to note are the dice themselves. They do have different symbols on them. If you were to ever roll 3 skulls, you re-roll the whole thing. Every skull is a damage until you have the cleric's ability unlocked. These symbols matter for moving up levels. For instance, if your affinity is a black dice with your rogue, like this one, we would have to take a black rogue symbol. Or a clover is anything. It's wild, any symbol, any color. The only thing it can't be used for are boots. Now, the other thing about these dice is you're not taking a dice and drafting. You're actually just noting which one you have. Let's say we take this one. You would write a little 5 up at the top of your board, just showing that you took that dice. Anyone can use the same dice, so there's no drafting. Now again, you could probably come up with a variant depending on the player count in which you did draft. That's to your discretion, obviously not the author's intent, but it's possible, and there are a couple other variants in there as far as vanishing gemstones, whereas at the end of the fight, gemstones A and C would vanish. So interesting things there as well. So that is how you play Paper Dungeons. So that's Paper Dungeons. It is straightforward, a roll and write game, but there are a lot of wrinkles. First and foremost, let's talk art direction, then gameplay, how they flow into each other. The game looks good. I like the symbols on the board itself. I like the way the actual map looks. Your player map looks nice. It could be a lot more chart-like and less art-like, and I really like the artistic style. Then the cards for the monsters look great. Now that's really the only art in the game besides the actual kind of like background art and the basic stuff, but the monsters do look really good. Art direction. The symbols work. They make sense. Everything you do makes sense. Gaining stuff versus like, well, does it mean I gain this or cross this out? All of that works. The only thing that can be relatively tricky is remembering that traps trigger every time you enter a room, and then claiming dungeons or claiming treasure in minions does not. So let's talk about playing this game. Is it fun? I'll say it now at the top of this review, final thoughts. This might be my new favorite roll and write. I love this game. I love how simple it is. I love how you the dice are so easy to choose from. The white and black affinity about the type of training that your characters need. The fact that you have the 4 characters to where it takes 4 charts. It takes a chart that again could have been anything and really makes it feel like, oh, my rogue is going to fight this minion because the better, that kind of stuff just works for me. I love how it plays. I love that the dice are so simple that you can just take this dice. I'm going to do a potion this round. It may not be the most advantageous for points, but at least it will stop me from losing 9 potentially. I'm going to move this round. Shoot, I ended up in a blank room. Well, at least I'm close to the monster because I have to touch the monster to beat it or to fight it. I'm going to take a crafting thing this time. Well, I've only got 1 crafting yet, but I'm about to unlock a free craft down here to open this, to do that. The stuff combos so well in this game. The amount of free gems that you can get and how many points they're worth versus the gems that you can go out and explore and try to get a bunch of points is also really great. I adore this game. If you like roll and writes, you need to check this out. If you don't love roll and writes, you still need to check this out because the player interaction isn't a drafting format. It's everybody gets everything. So, huge fan of Paper Dungeons. I can't say enough good things about this. This is my new favorite roll and write, and we'll play it all the time. I love it, love it, love it. The wrinkles that are there, from the objective cards to the power cards to the mission cards, all those sorts of things are just so good. Plays a whole lot of people as well, and it's just a fun game. Check out Paper Dungeons from Alley Cat Games. Love it. See you soon.